Right.
Because it's not cool.
Well, one of the things about gloves that I don't like is you lose feel. So you'll see me use just my hands at some point because I need that. I need the sensation of my fingerprints on the part. I can't get that with gloves. But
So now that we've been fishing, it's so beautiful.
oh, it's beautiful. It's going to get more beautiful. So probably the next thing is take this cover off, finish all the cleaning that goes on in here to get it nice and clean, and then we'll flip it up and pop this pinion
Seal
flange out, which will allow us to get the seal out.
And we have the pinion seal?
Oh, wow. Good question. Do you want to check that first?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Oh. With string origin. Pinion seal. Differential. 128 pen. Let me go grab it.
Go grab it. Put some gloves on. Take the back cover off that differential. I got the scrubby brush there, which is pretty cool. Take the back cover off first.
The back.
Let's get it cleaned. Let's finish the cleaning.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
This goes forward. You said back, and I understood bottom.
Back, bottom, same. All right, so I put some sauce in there. Maybe I need to reduce it to this side. Well, I mean, there's a lot less rotational resistance because, of course, um, the 90 weight oil that was in there is extremely thick. So this is going to allow us to hear the bearings, and we're not going to put any load on it at this unlubricated state. But we are going to check clearances, etc. And we are going to get off any remaining goo. So, yeah. Maybe I should move this over here.
And now what?
Well, I think we need to take the oil out that I put in. What's that? Nice and hot? Too hot? It's too Arizona in here?
It's just the windiness of it. It's
Oh,
blowing
the hot
like
wind?
has a direct shot at the face.
Right. It'll shut off in just a couple.
Is it too hot for you?
Oh no.
That's good. It's very comfortable.
Now, because this is the second solvent treatment in there, the first solvent treatment was very dirty.
Yeah.
It's a caffeine drink. They had them at the Geo. It was 24 for $6.
Oh my god. Good?
Well, after I put a little squeezy sauce in it, prepared by Nestle.
Is it odd that it's like coming off on this side, this bottom spool?
That is a dust excluder, which prevents anything from coming in and impacting the seal. Because if that were not there, the seal would kind of be exposed, and the direction of travel of the car would permit tiny rocks and things to hit the seal, or a stick to hit the seal. And so that dust excluder, it's a cup that is thick, right? It's a very stout cup.
It's not this surface? Or is it?
It is that
Is
surface.
it surface? So it's like pulling away on this side.
What do you mean pulling away?
Well, there's a gap here where there isn't a gap on this side.
I doubt that it's bent, or much bent. Is it, to what extent is it bent?
Minorly. There's a little, hang on, so
Okay.
there's a dimple here.
Okay.
I don't know if that's
In the
Necessary
dust
or-
excluder or the casting?
in the dust excluder. In the
Okay.
casting, there's a consistent gap over here
Okay.
between the casting and the dust excluder. But when you spin it, it's independent of the dust excluder.
Okay. Well,
and it stays in this localized location.
well, that is an asymmetry in the way that the bore is drilled into the casting.
Okay.
If the gap stays consistent over there.
Yeah.
And really, there's no reason why the outside shape of the casting has to conform to our ideas of what square or straight are. The only important aspect is that from the pinion to the axles is as close to 90 degrees as possible. And from one axle to the next axle is as close to 180 degrees as possible. And the mounting points here projected out to the ends of the springs, those constitute a rectangular set that is in line with the axles and therefore the pinion. And the shape of this intermediate to all those attach points is really immaterial. So they may have a jig that indexes these welded on points when they put it together. They have a jig that holds this and drills that and drills these at the same time. But you could probably have slight variances in the way the differentials are assembled in that jig. But in the jig, it's 90 degrees or 180. There's really not much coming off here. So what I'm going to do is drain the cleaning fluid out of this differential into a container, and we'll use it in part to clean up the beginning of that, get that nice and clean before we take it off. And then we'll also just reserve it on the side and we can use it to clean other parts of this.
Cleaning fluid. I thought you didn't use 90 weight.
Well, 90 weight is the oil that comes in here, and you already drained that, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I came through
with the mineral.
with odorless mineral spirits, which is a pretty weak solvent, but
is it actually odorless?
no, it's reduced odor.
Odor less odor.
As opposed to odorless. So now we need a container to hold the cleaned or the semi-dirty cleaning fluid.
Well,
How about
we
this
have that
trash
black
can?
one. Oh, you just want to put it directly in the trash can?
Well, we're going to need to put it in some kind of container so we can use it.
Let me say this. Where should it eventually be deposited?
It'll evaporate into the air.
Oh. Well, what about this?
That's going to be too dirty because that thing's really quite dirty inside.
Oh, and we might want to reuse it. Okay.
Well, we want to use it for cleaning the outside. We don't want to be depositing a bunch of dirt. Like there's a gigantic grease clump in the bottom of that thing.
Yeah.
And ew.
Well, what about that bowl we have with the green soup? Where do we want to deposit the green soup?
I'm not sure yet. Yeah, the green soup bowl might be good. I thought I had another container that was similar. Stainless steel, ex-kitchen
Bowl.
type container. But maybe I don't have it handy. Let's see. I've got this acro bin here. We can use this. Acro in the scoop bin. Let me just clean it out. This one's dusty. Yeah.
So I'll be unscrewing this bolt here.
Eventually, the first thing we're going to do is tip it over. But yeah. And so because you're going to unscrew the bolts, you're going to want that area to be pretty clean. We started this project with the kind of the really gross. Oh no, we started this project as a wet project. So I think the first thing you did was pressure wash, right?
I didn't pressure wash this.
No. I mean,
I did. Well, part of it.
In the grand scheme of things, the first thing you did on the car, was remove the hook on it.
Yeah. Let's remove the soft top.
Okay. So we removed a few things. Then you proceeded to the wet portion of the project with a week of pressure washing. After that week of pressure washing was done, we did, I guess, in an overlapping fashion, we pulled the engine, a tranny. And then, because there was still a little bit of pressure washing left to be done. And the purpose of the pressure washing was well realized. We didn't have as much crap to deal with when we took it apart, but
do you want those jacks to hold up the ends? And then, last time we spun it, we brought this down and this rested on jacks, and then we spun it and then lifted this up again. How are you thinking?
I was just thinking we put something underneath the nose of the diff and hold it in place.
the nose.
Yeah. So we're going to drain the fluid into here now.
From here?
Hmm?
Where are we draining the fluid from? Because I thought we were draining it from here, but then you said we're going to spin it.
Yeah, let's just drain it in like this. Just lift that up and drain it into here.
Oh,
Do you want to do that? Where's my camera? Oh, there it is. Yeah, just, no, don't do any of that. Just pick that up.
I see. It's a lot more simple.
You tip it up all the way. Just let it sit for about 20 seconds. That's still pretty gross fluid, but it's still quite active in terms of its solvent abilities. Sounds like it's done. Okay, you can set that down. I'll go get a crossbar, which will hold that guy up. And we'll just use this. Our nice fluid.
Great spot. You know, we could put that just on the ground.
Sure. Or we could actually clean this bin out and start with a fresh bin. It's not doing anything for us.
Fresh bin. Let's. Where can this piece go?
What's that?
That
The cross member? It's just waiting. Can I put it in the bottom of bin 20? Bench 20?
Yes, it's clean.
Okay. And this thing is clean. So, one of the problems that I noticed with this part, and actually all the other parts that got cleaned in the aqueous cleaner, is they have a light coating of rust on them. And that's non-optimal.
Very nice.
Because rust is weak. It is a weak oxide. Unlike aluminum oxide, titanium oxide, it's not really very good.
Can I put this back on?
If you'd like to, sure.
I feel like it should be on unless we need it off.
That's a responsible idea. Okay. Okay, 6 o'clock, so I've got another 48 minutes-ish.
Okay.
And our crossbar needs to be the minimum 40, maybe more. Oh my. Let's see.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that's pretty minimum. Wonder if it's far enough away. 39. No, we'll see. That might work. Is this me? I think those are me.
What's this for? Was it just for a...
That's my crossbar to hold up the assembly,
Hmm.
which I'm about to use right soon.
Oh.
That'll actually hold that guy in there pretty well.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's good. There's a bunch of crap in that. I'm not liking that. Yeah.
No, that was wrong.
And good thing you took pictures of all those mechanisms, because after we refinish them, we will likely have forgotten the way in which they install.
After these, where do we want these? We may not have
Yeah, let's keep those, since we don't know if we have replacements. It'd be nice to get replacements. I mean, you could put them on the list. Those are called, what do we say? Parking brake, actuator, lever,
bushing.
Boot. A boot is more loose fitting. A bushing is for transferring force. And those are simply dust or environmental excluders. Dust, oil, dirt, water, that sort of thing. Okay, so now it's not as dirty in there. Well, where's my sauce? Okay.
Where?
Oh, so very nice.
Can I use black thinner on this?
On what? On that plastic table? Yes, you can may. You can may. One thing we could do is clean off the top of bench 11 and bench 12. Right now they have been serving as a repository for various things, but the frequency of use of those things is low enough that it doesn't justify them as a general storage location for long-term stuff. And it would be beneficial to have adjacent immediate storage available for tools and things. So I was thinking about this thing, truth, with respect to your ethics class, your quote-unquote ethics class. There's two aspects to truth that are a bit compelling, especially in this age. One is understanding what the truth is, and one is speaking truth. In the 1960s, the hippie movement, the boomer movement, there was a phrase that was used, and tell me if this sounds familiar. It's called speaking truth to power. Have you heard that before?
I don't know, maybe.
If you had to guess what that means, what would you think it means? Being used by teenage delinquents and their communist
Speak up to those in power?
What's that?
Speak up to those in power or something?
It does. That's what it means. And it took me a long time.
Born of like Vietnam War?
Yeah, right. They're saying, hey, we would prefer not to go off and fight and die because, because the girls were saying, let's not die, let's not have killing. There'll be killings next. And the guys are saying, hey, the girls are here saying this, so let's go hang out with the girls. They like it when we say these things.
They got freaked out by the footage.
Well, sure, and that was part of the deal, is the Vietnam War was the first war that was televised. Mm-hmm. And I think they actually had to come up with methods of control because it was a free-for-all at the beginning, where the media would just go in and film all sorts of gruesome scenes that were like, I mean, horror movies didn't really exist at that time to the extent that they have gore. You know, gore wasn't a thing in cinema. So, like, think about the scariest movie of that time. It was like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Do you remember that one?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, indeed. Well, that was some scary stuff. And then you get this footage on your TV while you're sitting down to dinner, and you see some guy get blown up or machine gunned or something in real life, and it's some farm boy from the middle of Nebraska. That's going to have a huge psychological impact.
And since it was the first one that was televised, you can think that if other people, if they saw footage of World War One, they'd feel similarly.
Correct. And
but they didn't, so it was like, yeah, World War One.
Yeah, in fact, it was the opposite, right? You had the White Feather Brigade in Britain, where guys, for whatever reason, didn't go or weren't in the war at the time. They were just walking around the city. Maybe they were about to get their orders to go, or maybe they were and not in uniform, or maybe they had just returned from their tour, whatever the tour was called back then, and they were on leave or something, or maybe they were young, maybe they were 16, they weren't old enough to officially sign up. And you know about the White Feather Brigade? Because I think they had it in Downton Abbey, didn't they?
Yeah.
And what was it?
People go around, mainly women, I think, and they give flowers to the men who are not in uniform because it shows that they're not off fighting in the war, so it's a sign of shame.
It is a sign of shame, and female shame against males is one of the most powerful motivating forces.
Yeah.
In fact, the invading hordes of, I don't know, some Gallic or Germanic tribes that brought down Rome, they look like a savage biker gang, those guys did. They had their women right behind them, and the kids right behind them. It was part of their culture, and it's one of the reasons they were so successful, is because they had the front wave of soldiers, or ruffians, or whatever, maniacs. They look like Metallica on speed with weapons.
Which culture?
Well, it would have been Gallic tribes or Germanic tribes that brought down Rome in Western Europe in the 400s, whenever that was.
Mm-hmm.
So they had their women behind them, and the kids. So imagine if you're
literally
a soldier.
behind them?
Yeah, literally behind them.
Like
they would be, 500 yards behind him or 1,000 yards behind him.
in the tramp to fight.
And so, what are these women doing back there besides providing reinforcements? Like psychological, what are they doing? The wives of the soldiers.
Encouraging them to continue.
That's right. And if any soldier is like, hell, I'm not doing this, turn around and come back, he's going to encounter a whole bunch of women and children, and they're going to be like, what are you doing? Get up there and fight or die. Fight and or die. So they encountered this highly feminized society of toga-wearing, makeup-sporting, non-weapon using Roman citizens of the Roman Empire, and it was no challenge for the hordes. They're like, we could take these guys before lunch. So you're right about World War One. There was shame was in the opposite direction. The shame was, hey, you 16-year-old kid, you look old enough to get off to war. How about you head down to the recruiting station? But had those women actually seen what their white feathers were inducing, is these kids to sign up, these young boys to sign up over the sense of guilt that they weren't there, and they got this white feather pinned to their collar by a beautiful girl in their town, who everybody knew. Had the women been able to see the thing that they were actually promoting, they would have recoiled in horror.
So, did they just have a romanticized perspective of what they thought going on?
Yes, because of distance. So one of the things about World War I is it was the last war that was fought by empires in Europe. You used to have all these regal kingdoms that would exist for a short distance, like they were the offspring of different countries and kings that existed throughout, well, 1,000 years or something in Western Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you had the Kingdom of Bavaria. What the hell is that? It's just, right now it's probably like an area in Germany, but it's not autonomous like it was before. Or you had the Kingdom of Prussia. What the heck is Prussia? Kind of sounds like Russia, but it's different. I don't know. You had all these weird little kingdoms, and there are still a couple of them left that are really strange and small. Like, you've heard of Liechtenstein?
Mm-hmm. Liechtenstein?
Liechtenstein? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Couple square feet?
Yeah, it's a really small area, and they have probably the ossified remnants of a powerful royal family.
Ossified?
Yeah, there's just like the bones, the bare structure left, but it doesn't have any meat on it.
Mm.
So, anyway, back in the day, in 1914, when the World War I started, the leaders thought, hey, this will be like a football game. We'll just go and sit and watch these guys, and it'll be like war, and we can just check it out, and we can watch our troops go this way and that way. It'll be like playing Risk or Stratego or Command and Conquer or something. We'll just sort of watch them do their thing, and they had lunch parties, and they drive out to the front, and they thought it was going to be like a sporting match or something. They quickly realized that, well, hey, there's machine guns, and there are mortars, and there's artillery. So, it used to be that guys would fight, and then they go back and have lunch or whatever in the countryside at some villa or a restaurant. And that very quickly turned into a desolate wasteland that was soon to have chemical weapons that would obliterate every living thing in its path. So the realities of war were not only much more horrible than they've been at any time in history, but they smacked in the face to this European autocracy set that was really out of touch with the people. So that all came crashing down in Vietnam when people got to see really close up what actually happens in the war. And they realized, holy crap, this is some serious business. Why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And there were strategic reasons, maybe not tactical reasons, for having the war in Vietnam, which was to stop what? Why did the U.S. care about Vietnam? It was some French colony that France decided not to fight in anymore, and they left.
I forgot what the motive were.
Okay. Well,
it wasn't anything like trade related, was it?
No.
That would be too minor to support sending a bunch of young people over and dying.
Right.
So it'd have to be something more drastic.
Yeah, well...
It wasn't anything like that.
Like what?
Like, if they... Like, it wasn't because of a bribe or a bad deal or anything. The U.S. volunteered, or they agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, we went over to help France. It's kind of like we're helping Ukraine right now.
To help France?
Yeah.
Weren't they on the Axis side?
France? No, France was on the good side in World War II. The side that got their ass kicked. So I guess that makes them the good side.
Maybe I'm thinking about World War I.
France was also there, the side that got their ass kicked, so the good side. I think France pretty much just got their ass kicked in the 20th century.
I thought they did too, that's what I thought they did.
So we call them good, because in Western culture, the underdog is the good one. Yeah, so they had a colony, like all of these big countries had colonies. All of the civilized countries, the ones that developed weapons and ships and sophisticated social structures that allowed for the movement of humans into the structure and out of the structure based on merit, other than based on, you know, what was in more traditional societies, birth.
Wait, just to backtrack. We went to
Boy, this
help
is a
France,
noisy.
and that's it.
We went to help France, and that was it. Now, as with any international situation, you can come up with a variety of reasons, some of which are justified by motives that are clearly visible and have a logical explanation, but those motives can exist at multiple levels and be held by multiple actors and be different. So, ostensibly, we were in Vietnam to help France because it was the French colony. But after France left, that reason for being there kind of evaporated. So then the question becomes, well, why did we stay? And why did we fight the way that we did? And Vietnam was really interesting because it was the first or the biggest war so far in which we fought with one hand tied behind our back.
Vietnam?
Yeah. We could talk about Korea, but
Voluntarily?
yes,
Tied behind our back?
yes, we voluntarily fought with one hand tied behind our back, which is the same thing we've done in every war since. And it's why we've had very little flat-out military successes since that time.
Does the one hand tied behind our back relate to nuclear bombs?
It does. Yes. Nuclear bombs, both at the large level and at the low-level strategic, tactical level, the nuclear weapons that you could carry in a suitcase or something.
Yeah.
That would obliterate multiple city blocks. We have the ability to effect genocide on a global scale. And so using power that's short of that is having one hand tied behind our back at the large scale. At the small scale, we have what are called rules of engagement that we follow, ostensibly, and they are much more restrictive than the enemy that we're supposedly fighting. The enemy that we're fighting, to the extent that they're willing to be ruthless, they have an advantage over us because we have a compulsion to act in a way that we think is going to be justifiable to this band of hooligans called the United Nations. Now, we don't always meet that standard, but that's what we say we're doing. And that's what our policies are based on, is that we're better than them and therefore we're justified in the things that we do. Because if you take away that restraint, you know, if you get into a fight with a schoolyard bully and like he comes with a set of brass knuckles and you come with a gun, well, the guy with the gun is going to win, but you've broken some rule, either a written rule or unwritten rule, that, hey, you shouldn't go around killing people in elementary school.
Or if you are playing rock, paper, scissors, and then you're the person who says gun.
You're the person who says gun, yeah, that. Right? So the United Nations is there to tell us, hey, we're not very happy that you did this, or we're not very happy that you did that. And when the United Nations speaks, America typically goes, oh, okay, all right, we won't do that. And I'm not quite sure why we have that level of deference, since it's an organization that we primarily fund and house. It's sort of a strange opera that many people attribute to unseen powerful forces. I'm not sure it's that complicated. I think it's maybe just naked personal ambition, like so many things in life. Or let's say there's sufficient explanation to be found in the idea of naked personal ambition that we don't need to go all the way to underground conspiracy theories. Though that doesn't preclude their potentially having some validity. So this is getting relatively clean. It's not clean enough for painting, but it's getting a lot better. It's certainly clean enough for disassembly, and we won't have crap falling in our work. Hunter did a good job on the outside of this case. So this idea of speaking truth to power was something that the hippies came up with to justify their offensive things that they were saying to people in power at the time, which was screaming in their faces, "You're baby killers," to the hapless soldiers that were returning from Vietnam in their broken state physically and mentally, to make a spectacle of themselves in the airports as these guys came back. And you can imagine, like, if you just got done watching your buddies be blown up and you flew back on an airplane and you're in uniform and you walk into the airport in San Francisco or LA or Seattle and there's these long-haired stinky people spitting at you and yelling insults at you and telling you that you are a baby murderer.
Long-haired and stinky.
That would be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
But hey, that's where the girls are. So if you bring that message, if you're willing to go to the airport and do that stuff, the girls are going to love you. So lots and lots of guys would see that as a sufficient reason to join the anti-war movement. But then
and
again,
then they wouldn't have to go to war too.
And then they wouldn't have to go to war.
So win-win.
And they would also see their buddies come back bent and broken and be like, you know, I'm really not into this war thing. I'm gonna take the moral high ground and broadcast the fact that I have it on. So that's like the virtue signaling tendency that people have. Looky, looky. I think I need one fastener for this back can, which should be a 5/16. It's a half-inch head hex fastener. Do you have any of those there?
X fastener?
Half-inch hex-headed screw.
Screw.
When I say, yeah, the half-inch is the hex head. The fasteners are typically referred to not by the head size because that can be quite variable, but rather by what? Like on a drawing, how do you call out a fastener? It's not by the head size.
Is the fastener like a screw?
It is. Or it could be a zip tie, or it could be a nut. It fastens.
I have one right here.
Well, there's some right here. Yeah, that's got a nut on it. No, I need it to hold this little cover on.
Why don't you say a nut?
Well, a nut is a type of fastener. The one that I need is a screw.
I have this bolt.
Yeah.
I thought a screw was the one with the
Screwdriver head on it?
yeah.
It is. It depends who you talk to. If you talk to the like anybody who doesn't really work on stuff, a screw is something you put a screwdriver into.
Yeah. Is this a screw?
It is, but it's got a shank on it, so that's meant to go in. That does shear loading, shear resistance.
Sure. Do you need that or you need something?
No, these are purely forming a tensile function. They are restraining this lid against.
Yeah, this one, but it's smaller.
Smaller and shorter is good. There should be about, 12 of these things that are just for this job.
No, I don't need them.
We don't know where they went.
No, they're right there.
Oh.
I just didn't understand what you were asking.
Hey, that's great. Oftentimes it's the same with me. So I was thinking about this truth to power thing, and why be deferential to your dumb teacher? Is it because you want something from her?
Yeah.
And because you want something from her, then you're deferential toward her, that's weakness.
Uh-huh.
And there is the possibility of going the other way around, which is either ignoring or countering the fact that you want something from her and challenging her to give it to you even though you are belligerent. And that would be at one extreme. But not necessarily belligerence is required, but what if you just kind of went in the middle and spoke truth and were upfront about it, forthright? What would that look like? This is what Jordan Peterson challenges us to do.
Just a non-aggressive or
Would you catch this goo with a paper towel, please? I'm just going to scrape off some junk from the casting.
Scrape off the what?
I'm going to scrape some junk off from this casting here.
You want me to what?
Just catch it so it doesn't pollute the floor.
So just a way to not antagonize?
Yeah, I mean, antagonism is kind of fun from an ego-enhancing perspective, but it's not really productive because you turn your interlocutor into an enemy.
So I really don't have energy to do that.
Well, so that's the other thing.
I don't want to put a whole lot of time in making a difference in her teaching.
Right.
I don't really care.
Right. Now, there's something else to consider, which is what Mommy is taking is leadership classes. Could you affect an improvement in not only your experience, but other people's experience in the class? And by extension, could you potentially save lives in the future by getting your class to think about or even discuss actual ethical issues that will confront an engineer? So we've got this Lion Air and Ethiopian Air thing with the 737 MAX. Well, what if there had been a serious ethical discussion in some of the courses that those people took prior to that and said, hey, when we notice things that we're doing that may not be the greatest, we speak up, and we continue speaking up until we see change, even though it's uncomfortable and it may cost us our job. That's the type of realization that was had after the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded and there was the investigation into it in the 1980s, was that engineers have a duty to speak up, even if management is telling them, hey, be quiet, we're going to overrule you. And maybe managers will overrule them, and that's fine in one sense. Wow. What's that weird noise?
I think it might be scraping the side of it.
Oh, did I get a bunch of crap in there? I could have very well deposited a bunch of crusty junk in there. Okay. Now we got to pull this guy off.
Because it's inconsistent.
Right. Okay, so let's, I'm going to rotate this cam around, and we'll get you on the thing, doing the stuff.
Oh, I need socket.
You do. You have to figure out what size that is. It seems like all the sizes so far have been
Actually, it might be this.
that 1 5/16, but
smaller,
this might be
this
smaller.
Just can't fit inside.
That looks way too big.
It is big.
Okay, so that is so true. So grab your half sets from the half set area. And I would grab the standard and the metric as well, because who knows? Half-inch set in 9.4.
Half inch?
Yeah.
Why would I want them to be half inch?
Half-inch drive.
I just say,
28.7.
why would I want them to be half inch?
1.13. Oh, that's 1 1/8. Okay, 1 1/8, sweet pea, is the size. Because you're mine. I walk the line. Okay. You got it? Do you have a 6-point or a 12-point? Oh, baby, a 6-point. Yeah, let's see what happens. You might be able to pop that out of there with that thing. I don't know.
Maybe.
That's not going to work because there's not enough inertia to keep this from rotating. So you're going to have to use an impact tool.
I thought you were going one direction, but you actually went the other direction.
That's me. I'm tricky like that.
I went the air direction.
No such luck. We gotta get it off, big boy. Okay. I'm going to see if I've got a 1 1/8 socket out there while I'm turning on the air.
This will add effect.
Oh, that's a great idea, sure. That is the most direct acting counter force you can apply, so smart. Nice, and you know how to use the vice grip now, which is turn and squeeze, or you can turn and squeeze at the same time. You can turn and squeeze, as they say. And you definitely are able to tell now that the further down you grab on the handle, the easier time you have closing that, up to the point where your hand goes off and you lose hold on it. Okay, take the extension off because it introduces whip and flex. Did you oil that tool today?
I have not oiled the tool today.
Because you're mine. Oh. 2 out and 2 in. So that lubricates the fitment as well. The fitting. Perfect. All right, I've got a little less than 20 minutes. Nice.
Could you do it doesn't have a blade on it?
A spinning blade?
Yeah.
Like a knockoff? Here we go. Here you don't go.
I don't see why that.
Woo!
It kind of looks like stop motion.
It is.
When it's getting up the speed.
Oh, smart. Check you out. You got them skills.
No problem.
Are you done with the air?
I am. On the top of the world, looking down creation. Hang on.
Hanging. Whoa! Who's this? Oh my gosh!
This is Monty.
Monty?
Yeah.
Wow, such a long nose.
I know.
Monty looks very fun.
He's wonderful. And I think, I don't know, it's his mom's dog and she's had him for a while.
Okay, so let's just set
He's
those
still
in.
fairly young.
Got the young smile.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next step? I'm going to ask you to game this out because I'm going to be leaving.
Oh, this needs to pop off.
So just give me the next 5 steps here.
5. So, this pop off?
Correct. How? With what? No, because that would bend this thing which is already bent. Right? You said you identified that it had a wow in it right there where it got hit on the side. So we're going to have to correct that. How do you get this off of here?
Looks like a record. This off of here.
Mm-hmm.
This is monolithic with this stuff.
Well, this is turned on a lathe, and this is punched in a die.
Are they welded together?
So they're not going to be monolithic from the manufacturing side unless, as you say, they're welded together. Which I'm thinking is not super likely.
Oh. So is it the grabbing thing and pushing?
Yeah, So once you do that, then what? You take this out, and then what do you
Well, it
do?
would be clearer to get this off just by pulling it.
Should be.
So that's 2 steps.
Okay. What's the next step?
Microwave food.
No. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where's
Maybe
your
that's step
seal?
1.
Where's your seal?
I'm not going to eat seal. It's over there.
Okay,
I
so.
take off the seal, which is step 3.
Yep.
And then I clean everything,
Yep.
which is step 4, and then I replace the seal.
Yep. And what are you going to put on the outside of the seal?
Grease. No, the white stuff.
518.
What is that?
518.
The new stuff?
Anaerobic gasket seal maker.
Stuff we haven't used yet?
We have. We use that on the outside of the other seals. That's why they slid in so easily.
Is that the white stuff?
No, not Vanessa with the singing career. The red stuff that you put on the outside of the axle seals and pressed in with your fingers. The red stuff that I put on the outside of the axle seal when you pressed them in with your fingers.
That red stuff wasn't the grease?
That red stuff
I
was
just thought it was
anaerobic
grease.
gasket maker.
Okay, I don't know if I know where that. Outside of the seal?
And on the inside of that, the housing,
Oh.
where it's going to slide in.
Okay, so between the seal and the housing
Correct.
is the red stuff. Is there grease anywhere?
Well, you're going to need to investigate the seal track, which is the collar, if there is one, upon which the seal rides. The lip of the seal, the sealing part of the seal. The spring-loaded rubber lip. You're going to have to really clean the heck out of that thing. So that's the 4th thing. Or actually, that's the 3rd thing. Clean the heck out of that collar. Or maybe it's the back of this flange or something. And then the 5th thing is beat this guy back into shape. And you can use the polyurethane bench as a backer as you hit it from the inside with various tools. You know, it could be a screwdriver or some blade or something.
Okay, where's the tool that grabs onto this and then pushes?
10.4R. Yo, it's on your wrist.
I wonder if I could just do it.
That's not supposed to happen.
No.
Okay, so this is pressed onto the other thing. So I would say don't unpress them.
Okay.
Just take that whole thing, well, rag it. Oh, really?
What?
You don't like your pants? So just rag it and then take it out to the solvent tank
Roll raggy.
and clean the heck out of it. I never saw that movie. I only saw the shows over and over again.
Yeah. Movie's pretty dumb.
Yeah, the movie seemed like it was
The live action.
the left again, trying to tell us how great
Stuff in there.
their culture and tradition is.
Yeah. Well, it had a lot of allusions to smoking and drugs.
Woohoo!
You could totally tell if they were all like at least 48.
All the actors were 48, even though they're supposed to be playing teenagers.
I said 28. At least 28.
28,
Probably
yeah.
30. At least. 70s.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's a figment of our culture as well.
What was really funny though is because Scooby-Doo was CG in the movie, and all the actors showed up for the premiere. People would see photos of the 4 people actors, and they were like, "Where's Scooby?"
Nice. That's like that girl that walked by. That little black girl who walked by the shop and saw the car on the lift and looked at me with wide eyes. Is that magic?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's magic, sweetie.
So I'll beat this back into shape, just this bit here.
I think so. Be careful because you're going to apply forces that will be sufficient to deform that sheet metal, and that means that they will also be sufficient to deform the sheet metal here, which holds that collar, the dust excluder, onto that flange. So, what does that tell you about load path while you're pounding?
Be direct on this.
Be direct.
So I should have something that goes like this.
Correct.
Set it on.
Correct. You can, well, you're not going to pound on that side though. So if you took this and you use this as your backing and you pound it here, your load path is going to go to the top of this and pull that flange down and loosen it. So yes, be direct. Put something under here and then pound in that thing. Just donk, donk, donk like that. And the nice way to do this is you can put underneath this a soft bag.
I've used those.
In the industry.
We have those in the lab.
Really? Are they filled with sand or lead shot or something?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I don't have one.
But like a bunch.
That is the thing that you would use here.
Yeah.
And you just be really gentle. You use the smallest hammer that would work and get this back into shape in like 20 pounds.
This is a seal.
That is the seal. Here's where you can maybe use this affair.
Okay, 1 second.
Here's maybe where I can use this affair. Oh, baby. That is super effective, as the trainers say. Oh, we need to go see Milroy one of these days.
Were you thinking about carrying on?
I was.
And then old people.
I was.
And then John Milroy.
I was. Jim, when are we going to get that book out here? Or do we think it's important enough that we ship the book? I guess we can look at the book while we're at his house, because he was the one that said you need to buy this book.
Yeah. I don't know. I may wait to ask Joey to do that, just because.
If it gives photographs of how things should go together, that may be helpful. Like,
it would be helpful.
Having a picture of an original car that people haven't monkeyed with to see where brackets go and how they're oriented, where washers go, how the stack is put together, that would be helpful. A guide to original. You can, sure. I don't know that it's necessary.
I don't think it is, because I'm going to take this off and then I'll be able to clean everything.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I got about 8 minutes left, or 7 minutes left.
Okay.
Okay.
You had a tool for the seal?
I do, but I just can't figure out how to make it work. It's the Lyle seal remover. So wouldn't you think that this thing has a hook that's of sufficient size that it would get around that soft part? Oh, you know, this one's not that soft. Well, this one might work. About that much. No, it's still going to be soft because it has to be soft in order to be a functional seal. I think this only works on seals where there's a metal rim that goes around every aspect of the seal, except for the very middle. Because I can't see how this thing with its tiny hook is going to actually work. I tighten that up to a certain... Well, okay. I was using it a little differently, but I don't know which. I don't know what the right way is, actually, because I've never had success with that tool. Maybe I need to watch a video on it or something. If that hook was much more serious and reached inside of the seal, it would be super great. But that hook is just so tiny that I think, absent having a bigger hook, that tool is useless for this type of seal.
Yeah, it's such a tiny hook. And this...
Well, the way that I think this is intended to work is that you put this here, like so, set it at the distance you want, and then tighten it down. Now you have a fixed pivot. How do you set it at the distance you want? You slide this back and forth. Yeah, like that. However, it just seems dumb right now because the hook is the wrong size. So maybe we can make a... Hey, have you done any heat treating in your... oh, there's going to be another shield in there, so don't destroy it. Have you done any heat treating? Magnet? A plastic magnet?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Heat treating, we've done annealing, but just for educational purposes.
Okay. So heat treating would, I mean, annealing is a heat treat.
Yeah.
So that's something. That's the first step in heat treating, annealing is.
Did we assess the differential?
We are assessing the differential now. Once you pull this steel out, we'll have a good chance to check this bearing out. We can look at it and listen to it and see what's what with it. And, and then we should be able to advance from there. But everything that I looked at on the other side, it's just the same as everything else on this car, which has been really nice. Albeit dirty and old. But, hey, dirty and old is not necessarily a bad thing. Because it can be refreshed. Okay, so you're going to become the destructive savage that you always wanted to be. We're going to take advantage of the fact that A, we're not going to be reusing the seal, and B, it has some internal structure. So put these screws in right there. Don't go too far in. Just go like 3 threads in. No, not speed. Speed will be out of control. Push hard though. That's not as effective as I thought it was going to be. Let me see. That's not nearly as effective as I thought it was going to be.
At least it didn't go the other way with my eye.
Why did the bit come out? That's so interesting.
Lots of force.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Next. We may just need to put a little drill in here first. The tip of this screw is not a very effective drill bit. Okay, now I got like 2 minutes left-ish.
I thought your meeting started at 7.
It does. What time do you have?
6:55.
Well, so what I'm going to need to do is go there and get logged in and such.
Oh, you're accounting for.
One. So just like you don't use maximum speed when you're cutting on the lathe or the mill, same goes for these tiny cutters as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to determine through trial and error or some other method what the oh man, the correct cutting speed is. Here you go. Alignment. I had hoped for 3, but again, slow. You're trying to do real work in real time. Ooh.
Oh my god.
Ooh. So try to be the end of the screw in your mind. Is that one that fell into the trash can? Permanently gone? Here, let me try that out. Are the threads on the front of that thing beneficial at all? Dude, I got another 30 seconds. Let's see what happens here. It's interesting that there's red goo on the front of that. I wonder what that's about. Okay.
Oh, it's not straight.
The patriarchy strikes again. So you're going to want to take this. You might be able to combine it with this move here and do the combo trick, you know?
Wouldn't I want to have like double trouble?
Yeah, or you can do it incrementally. Whatever. There you go.
Well, okay.
Right, so, all right, I'm out. Have fun.
What's after this? Clean.
Yep.
Clean.
Yep.
Pound.
Yep.
Put in two.
Yep. Oh, and if you're going to go up and eat food, hit stop stream on the YouTubes.
I don't know if this is going to work.
You can get a longer lever. 12.3.
Okay.
It's a whole bunch of them. They get a lot longer and a lot stronger. Here's one.
It's like a cane.
With it, you will be able to get off this.
Salvation. I don't know what I'm gonna eat.